Just an overview of a penny board versus a mini cruiser, along with a penny nickel board, and I also have a longboard over there. So this is a penny board, and as you can see, it's actually it's a bit smaller than a penny nickel and a mini cruiser, but not by that much. So a lot of people, their perspective is that these are reasonably easy to carry versus a penny board, so they would prefer the bigger one. But there's a few other things to note. So first, I'm going to put some shoes on here to kind of show the size comparison. As you can see on a wooden mini cruiser, so this would be something similar to a Landiox dinghy. It's about 27 inches long, and as you can see, this is how much space you have. Again, the shoes are still kind of bigger than the width of the board. Now, if you go on a penny board, that's just a lot bigger. So a lot of people, they kind of see that, and they see how the shoes are almost like twice the distance here. So again, you just kind of have to balance. Again, you just get used to it. It looks really small, but people do balance on these things. People do ride penny boards. And the penny nickel is about the same size as the mini cruiser here. I think the inherent assumption is that obviously the bigger boards are a better ride, and that's not entirely true. As you can see here, this is a Sector 9, and see the wheel size here. Now, with the penny, it starts about 59 millimeters, but I put 76 millimeters on my penny board. And on the penny nickel, I put 70 millimeters. On that longboard, it's 70 millimeters. Although there's longboards with wheel cutouts, I have one as well, that you can put really big wheels. Maybe 100 millimeters, 85s, 90 millimeter wheels on them. But this one's 70 millimeters. This is 70 millimeters. This is 76, and this is a bit smaller, probably 50 millimeters or 60, maybe 55. So that's usually what most longboards, a lot of times they start with 60 millimeter wheels. So quite a bit smaller than what I have on this penny board. Unfortunately, penny boards do not come stock with bigger wheels. They start with 59 millimeters, so you actually have to purchase these separately. But ultimately, what the right quality of a board is mostly determined by the wheel size. The bigger your wheels, the better you are going through sidewalk cracks, the better you are going through rough terrain, and the safer you're going to be. So something like this, smaller wheels that might get caught in the sidewalk and cause you to fall, this will ride straight over it. Smaller rocks. The smaller rocks are the hardest to see and the hardest to evade. And a tiny little rock could cause this to a sudden stop, cause you to fall, whereas this penny board would ride over it. Look at the different wheel sizes here. A 70 millimeter is only slightly smaller than a 75, although because of how small this board is, it's got this sort of monster truck look. And now a lot of people are kind of wondering, like, how am I not getting wheel bite of having such big wheels on this penny board? And the reason for that is how narrow this board is. Because this board is so narrow, when the board turns, you don't need as much clearance through the wheels here. Now, on a wider board, like this one, because the board is so much wider, when the board turns downwards, see, you need more space here. Whereas a penny board, you need less. So because of that, you're able to put really big wheels on a penny board. With the grip tape, you're going to scratch your hands, you can scratch your sunglasses, whereas the penny board, you don't really have to worry about that because, again, it's a waffle grip. But again, you're definitely gripping better. But in my experience, is that the advantage in grip tape is not significant enough to make it better than the waffle grip. The waffle grip is generally more useful. You're not going to scratch yourself. You're not going to scratch your sunglasses. Easier to carry, easier to transport, less to worry about. And in penny boards, there are also grip tape versions as well. So with the plastic board, you can choose between waffle grip or grip tape, while a wooden board, you can only have a choice of grip tape. So in this regard, the plastic board has an advantage in having two types of grips, while the wooden board only has one. Of course, there's also the material of wood versus plastic. Now, plastic, well, is for the most part better. Plastic, you don't have to worry about water. So you can ride this in the rain. Wooden board, you probably shouldn't be. Another thing is that what happens if the ground is wet? So let's say it rained the day before and the ground is wet. And that's generally what happens in my city in the winter, right? So whereas maybe you're raining, let's say, 5 days of a month in November, but you have 20 days in which case the ground is covered in water. Well, with this thing, that's not really a problem. If I step off a board for where I'm pushing or kicking, I have to step back on the board. That's how you got this mud here. If you can see the mud here on this board here, is because of that. This was never written in the rain, but sometimes there's mud or water on the pavement. We step on it, you step back on the board, you bring that on there, and you can see these kind of markings on there. But the penny board is not a problem. And in fact, during the rain, it will simply just clear the penny board, make it cleaner. Much less you have to worry about. The fact that you don't have to worry about water is a huge advantage. Also have cost. With this thing, I think I got in secondhand for like $40. Again, this thing also got secondhand, but for the most part, you can get penny boards really cheaply secondhand. Wooden boards as well, but again, the wooden boards are kind of worried about, if there's been any water damage, or anything like that. Again, the penny board you don't really care. What you see is you're going to get. You get a few scratches on the tail ends and whatnot, but it's really not a big deal. So overall, I mean, you're getting lightweight, you're getting super compact, you're getting waterproof, you're getting a more convenient grip type, and you have the option of having bigger wheels on it. So, I think, a lot of people, they're like, oh yeah, what was it called? Landiact thingy, like how great that is. Like, in my experience, this is just a better ride. You're riding better. It's a smoother ride. It's faster, right? Because the wheels are bigger. I guess the next question is like, what about a penny board versus a longboard? Now between these two, I would say the penny board is usually more useful. Again, the wheels are bigger and it's also lighter and easier to carry. But there's also longboards with the full wheel cutouts. And I have one as well. So between that, the advantage of the full wheel cutouts is that you can put much bigger wheels on there. There's the drop-through versions, and there's ones that are not drop-through. They just have cutouts. That's definitely true. But here's the thing. There's a thing about diminishing returns with wheel sizes. So once you get to a certain point, it becomes less and less important. So let's suppose you have like a 50mm wheel versus 60mm wheel. That's a huge difference. And you should go with a 60mm wheel. 60 to 70, again, the difference is less important. And then 70 to 80, again, that's less noticeable as an improvement in riding quality. But on the other hand, when wheels are bigger, they're also heavier. And that affects your braking, that affects your acceleration, and affects your overall control. So there's actually some people that actually prefer the 75mm over the 80 or 85mm wheels because, they get a bit more control over the board. So it's a matter of what you think is relevant. I would say a 75 is generally as good as you're going to need. Any bigger, the board is a little less, it feels really the control is kind of awkward. Because again, it's harder to stop, it's harder to accelerate. Again, I'm not saying I don't like 85 or 90mm wheels. But again, it's a point where if you need such big wheels, you can't use a penny board, you're going to have to use a bigger board. And that's also a disadvantage. On the other hand, if I'm going to ride a really big board, like a full-size longboard, I'm going to put bigger wheels on it because, why else would I bother when I can just use a small penny board? And, the portability of the penny board has, again, obviously it's easier to carry around. And another thing is, let's say I'm taking a bus. I usually have a tablet to watch stuff on the bus. So I put this on my backpack. I can hook onto my backpack and, walk on, scan my bus pass and then get on the bus. But with a longboard, and I tried that, it's just a nightmare because, I have one hand with the tablet and then I have another hand to carry the longboard, but then I need a third hand to, scan the bus pass. That's inconvenient. So I kind of put the longboard on the side and then scan the bus pass. And it's, that's only a few seconds, but it's really annoying when I could just carry this thing around. And again, also you have to fit onto a bus seat. It takes a bit more time, than this where you can just leave it aside. Another thing is that this thing, I can hook it onto the back of a backpack, a skate bag. Now, why is that important is because one, sometimes I lose stuff. And, when I hook it onto a bag, I don't have to worry about losing it because it's attached. Another thing is, again, what I said earlier, right? I have both hands free. I don't need one hand to carry a full-size longboard, onto a bus or onto, any other kind of location. Huge advantage of a smaller board is you can hook it onto a skate bag like this. Again, you can't do that with a longboard, but you can put it with a smaller board. So I think I've kind of said all these reasons why I would prefer plastic over the wood. So I guess the question is, why would you bother with a wooden board? So there's the one thing kind of left, and one is the kind of feel of the flex. And so a lot of people prefer that. And they're like, oh, wooden boards are better because they prefer the feel. But you know what? Obviously, if you prefer the feel of that wood, that's good. But that's subjective, right? It's not an objective reason why wooden board is better than plastic one. That's because you personally prefer the flex of a wooden board over the plastic one. For the most part, the plastic boards, they're more convenient, and they're also cheaper, and they last longer. So, yeah, I would say the plastic is almost always better than wood. I can't think of any reasons why I would prefer wooden board over plastic one. So they're always better than wood.